Larry, a mentally tormented child by his Catholic school nun, grows up to be a strong man, having a strong hatred towards Christmas and whoever celebrates it. This hatred soon transforms into delusions and need for blood, targeting anyone who celebrates Christmas even in their own homes. Hi folks, I'm R, your narrator. Send me your game suggestions on Twitter, which I could cover in the upcoming videos. This video will have spoilers. With that said, let's begin. On Christmas Day, 25th of December 1959, the nun in a Catholic school forbids Larry from joining them in the Christmas party for undisclosed reasons, which visibly upsets the young Larry. He proceeds to sneak downstairs nonetheless and pick up a large knife from the kitchen and starts slaughtering all of the kids in the party, including the nun, whom he doesn't seem to like. Believing he had killed the nun and the other children, he continues butchering everyone he comes across to in other parts of the boarding school, including adults and children. This portrays his unstable mental state, becoming homicidal after being prohibited to go to the Christmas party. Although it's not mentioned to why the nun didn't allow him to join the party, according to his sudden outburst and unhinged behavior, it's possible that he had showed signs of being antisocial and aggressive, something the nun is well aware of, hence why she decided to keep Larry isolated and away from crowds. After killing everyone he knows of, time passes to 20 years later, to 23rd of December 1979, with Larry having a larger stature, watching a live debate about the right of gun ownership. Walking around in what seems to be his house, being extremely run down and neglected, having bare minimum furniture, Larry encounters his moving and talking Christmas tree, who informs him that many people have been naughty this year and they deserve the maximum punishment, instructing Larry to kill them all.
Listen, Larry, I was thinking, a lot of people have been naughty this year. I need you to go out and kill. You must kill, and keep on killing, Larry. Punish everybody who has been naughty.
This in a way portrays the poor mental health of Larry, communicating with an imaginary Christmas tree while living in a rundown property, who incites him to fulfill violent fantasies. Larry then proceeds to dress up as a mall Santa, with his van having the name Santa written on it, implying that Larry possibly provides entertainment services, dressing up as a Santa and attending parties. Larry then proceeds to break into a house where many people are having a party, playing loud music, which gives Larry a good cover to sneak in easily. As the people are busy dancing, seemingly being intoxicated, Larry takes advantage of the situation and stabs them one by one repeatedly until their bodies become motionless. Happy with this accomplishment, he goes back to his house, which is covered up by sheet metals, keeping it well hidden, with him seemingly living off grid when he's greeted by his manipulative and talking Christmas tree, who informs him that more must die.
Good job, Larry, but you know your work is never done. More must die.
The day passes and Christmas Eve begins, being 24th of December, with Larry parking his van deep in the woods not to raise any suspicion. The next place he targets is an isolated grocery store, which provides Larry with a great opportunity to slaughter all of the staff within it, not attracting much unwanted attention to himself. After finishing up, driving for a while, heading back home, being covered in blood of his victims, he arrives back home with a talking tree informing him that it cut a teenager and imprisoned him in the basement, leaving him for Larry so that he can brutally murder him. Without much hesitation, Larry savagely stabs the teenager, a boy that has been stripped of his clothes. The teenager, begging for his life, quickly takes his last breath, with Larry not showing any ounce of humanity and sympathy, as if the teenager was a human sacrifice. This clearly reveals the unstable mental state of Larry and how he butchers people without any hesitation. The tree having no limbs and not being physically able to move from its place clearly depicts that he wasn't the one who captured the teenager and did not intricately take his clothes off. The person or entity who did that would be someone capable of physically removing clothes and moving. Therefore, the perpetrator could be no other than Larry himself, someone who had lapses of memory, unable to remember what he had done. That is why the time passes by quickly, with Larry not recollecting much of the day. Yet again, as Larry leaves his property, the night comes to a sudden end, with Larry finding himself in a wooded area next to his parked van, with the sky being bright, showing that the night has passed, with the day being 25th of December, the Christmas day. This provides evidence that Larry suffers from some sort of mental health problem, causing him to black out and not remember majority of the day and what he had done. After walking for some time, he arrives at a house which is yet again celebrating and having loud music, being distracted from this homicidal maniac and the horrible fate that they are soon to face. Larry proceeds to kill them all in a gruesome manner and drive back home, being yet again greeted by his only friend and companion, the imaginary talking tree. The tree gives Larry some tips on how to kill more efficiently, instructing him to throw his knife next time around. Larry then heads to bed after a tiring day, with the time passing to 31st of December, being New Year's Eve, with Larry not remembering much of the time that passed. Parking his van next to some rundown buildings, he visits an underground party where he kills whoever he encounters. After the massacre, Larry goes back home, arriving at a dark and empty house with no sign of his talking tree, with buzzing noise of flies being heard, as if flying around rotten flesh or remains of humans. Larry then hears a woman crying with the sound coming from upstairs, which he follows, noticing that it comes from a room. Entering the room, he observes a woman sitting on a rocking chair and weeping, who has grey hair, as if portraying she is an elderly lady, who is missing her face as if it has been badly mutilated. The woman in a monotone, creepy voice keeps repeating the same word, saying Larry over and over again. When the room catches on fire, with the door being locked, the fire engulfing the lady on the rocking chair, forcing Larry to watch her burning in an agonizing fashion. A text then appears mentioning that Larry will burn to death, when the lady suddenly disappears, explaining that this was nothing but a figment of Larry's imagination. This was possibly a vision Larry's haunted with, displaying how he feels immense guilt about an event, possibly killing and mutilating someone who knew Larry and had an old age, possibly someone close to Larry, being no other than his own mother. Leaving the room, with the door opening on its own, Larry witnesses a set of large teeth laughing menacingly, which terrifies him, running into his bedroom. To divert his crippling fear, Larry shuts his eyes tightly in hopes of the teeth vanishing and him falling asleep. As he awakens, Larry finds himself in a mortuary, being haunted by many naked and bloodied people who are the previous victims of Larry, now standing tall right in front of him. Larry, seemingly traumatized and scared by this event, has to face what remains of his conscience, chopping down all of the walking corpses in front of him. When he suddenly enters a room being an infinite large dark corridor, when he suddenly awakens, finding himself on his bed, realizing it was nothing but a nightmare. His door slowly cracks open, with the talking Christmas tree going to him, informing him that there's something it needs to tell him. But before that, he needs to go back to where it all started, where he committed his first murders, the Catholic boarding school where the nun didn't allow him to go to a Christmas party. A party that caused Larry to develop some sort of resentment and hatred towards anyone who goes to Christmas parties, not wanting to seemingly feel left out. The next day commences, being 1st of January, New Year's Day, with Larry being equipped with a flamethrower, ready to burn the school down with everyone in it. He proceeds to go to the school and leaving no one behind, burning them with the flamethrower and burning the school down. He finally reaches the chapel, with no other than the nun being present there, the nun who didn't seem to like Larry and saw him for what he truly was, a violent psychopath. The nun seems to have suffered major injuries after Larry's first massacre, being badly mutilated and paralyzed, sitting on a wheelchair, who miraculously survived. The nun informs Larry that she knew he was a sinner and someone who'll burn in hell for eternity, when Larry decides he heard enough, burning the nun down. It all seems to have started from the boarding school, with Larry developing some sort of hatred towards people and Christmas, having some sort of resentment against everyone who celebrates it. That's why Larry believed it all needed to come to an end, with the nun being the last person to die. As Larry returns home, he's ambushed by police who capture him with the Christmas tree, mentioning that it had no other choice but to cooperate with FBI as they knew too much. Larry then becomes convicted of 36 counts of first-degree murder, and he is ultimately thought to be criminally insane, ending up in a mental hospital. 5 years pass, with Christmas approaching, the day being Christmas Eve, 24th of December, 1985. Larry, not having his Santa mask on this time, uses a knife he had stashed somewhere before, killing all the members of staff and escaping the hospital. Seemingly back on his murder spree, yet again back killing anyone he encounters who celebrates Christmas. Or maybe his hatred for Christmas lovers is over after killing the nun who made him hate it. His vision of seeing the tree telling him that it cooperated with FBI could be Larry himself turning himself in after completing his mission of killing the nun, with him seemingly not feeling the same resentment he felt all his life, deriving from the nun who seemed to hate him and deprive him of the joy of celebrating Christmas. That's it for today's video, folks. If you enjoyed it, you can stay tuned by hitting on the subscribe button and the notification bell. It's been your host Star, and I will see you on the next one.